Today on InGrace, we're at an archaeological dig in Shiloh, Israel. Ever since I was a boy, I've been fascinated with God's creation. I'm traveling the planet to tell His story about His world. I'm Jim Scudder Jr. Come with me on another exciting adventure in grace. 4 a.m. Jerusalem is unusually quiet. This is the hour that those volunteering at digs in Israel have to get up in order to avoid the harsh summer heat. And I'm always a little grumpy this early in the morning. Too early. That's what you gotta do when you're an archaeologist. It's basically called kill yourself, don't sleep, get dirty all day, and pay for it. You get to pay for all this fun. As we drove from our apartment in Jerusalem to the dig location in Shiloh, I felt so excited to be part of something 3,000 years in the making. What would it be like to put my hands in soil that has safely guarded ancient artifacts? But these artifacts weren't just pots and coins and scarabs. These objects were real parts of real lives. Lives somewhat different than ours, but surprisingly similar. They had real problems and real issues, just like us. As I dug and carried boulders and buckets, I was transported back in time. Roman times, the time of Jesus, the time of the Babylonians and Joshua. All around me were echoes from the past, made real in my present. My first pottery at Shiloh. Nothing groundbreaking. They have piles of this kind of stuff. But this would have been from the time of David, that era. My day digging was great. Very tiring, but very fulfilling. Tomorrow, I'm going to be a little smarter. Instead of carrying rocks, I'm going to carry a microphone. My plan is to talk to both expert archaeologists, but perhaps more importantly, first-time volunteers, so you can get a sense of what it's like to volunteer at a dig in Israel. I dig the Bible. No, seriously, I dig the Bible. We're in Shiloh in Israel. We're at the largest archaeological excavation in Israel right now, and I got to dig the Bible. No, I didn't use my Bible, but these archaeologists here at Associates for Biblical Research, they believe that this is God's Word. And so that's giving them an advantage. If we believe this is true, it's going to give us accurate history of a site like Shiloh. Shiloh was the place that God's people, when they first came to the land, this is where they worshiped. The tabernacle was in Shiloh. You can come here and you can do what I did. Get your hands dirty with dirt that's thousands of years old, that people would have been living and touching these items, these clay pots and these coins and all of these things in the time of Samuel and Eli. And just picture all of this happening here at Shiloh. I'm going to be interviewing some volunteers. People from all over the United States and all over the world have come here. Man, I'm telling you, this is exciting. You're going to learn so much today on InGrace. So, Dr. Stripling, at an archaeological dig, you've been directing them for a while. This is really a complex operation.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts that go into it. I'm blessed that I have a great team working with me, but as you've witnessed for yourself, there's many components going into it.
What I want to do today is really encourage Americans to come to Shiloh. And What skills do they have to have, or qualities do they have to come here?
We're kind of like the Statue of Liberty. Give us your tired, your huddled masses yearning to be free.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we take people of all ages. Our oldest volunteer this year is 85, and our youngest is 12 or 13. So we have things for people of all physical abilities, and we find people with backgrounds in construction, engineering, housewives, teachers, and
so any background, as long as you have a good attitude, I think anyone coming here is going to have a good attitude.
Well, people ask me all the time, Jim, like, how do you get these people to work so hard? That they believe in what we're doing. I mean, they're coming here because they believe in our mission.
When people are digging here, you're digging up something that's been buried for 3,000 years, but it's fitting the biblical narrative.
Right, what I like to call it verisimilitude or a synchronism. We read it in the ancient text, and then in the material culture, we see something very consistent. For example, where your wife Karen was digging yesterday, that's a storage room from the period of the tabernacle. And she was literally digging up a storage jar, what we would call a collared rim jar from the period of the tabernacle. And that's pretty awesome.
So you're starting a new square. What is a square?
Well, that's basically the 5 by 5 meter area where we dig, and basically it's kind of like emptying a bathtub. Let's remove the soil and go down and see what we find as we go and illuminate a little history.
You've got so much ground still to cover,
Yes.
At least 3 more years, and it's incredible what may be here.
Yeah, I think they say in a typical dig of the site, something like 1% is dug, even in large excavations. So unfortunately, we don't know what we don't know. We just have to dig and hope that we find something good, and hopefully that'll be the case here.
This is my square. In other words, I actually worked a little bit yesterday here, and you were helping us, supervise us.
Right.
You're the assistant square supervisor.
One of them, yes.
Victoria, you lived all over because your dad was military,
Yep.
right? But here you are, uncovering something important right now.
Right now, yeah. Finding big pieces of a pithos jar, it looks like.
So, and that's what we're expecting to find in here, because this is a storage area.
Right.
So this is exactly what you'd be expecting to find
what
here.
we've been hoping to find.
And that's a pretty large piece, and you're not finding that many that are already that intact, right?
Yeah, no, we've been finding lots of smaller pieces.
So
but
this is
getting to work
significant.
on pieces of this size here of the side, so that's kind of exciting.
And what era would you just best guess this to be?
This is probably Iron Age. So probably time of the tabernacle, time of Eli and Samuel, and there's a good chance they could have used these jars.
What does that mean to you? I mean, do you feel something when you're the first one to see something like this that would have been at the time of the tabernacle?
Well, I'm sure. I mean, there's nothing really like it. You know, if a biblical character that I've heard about since I was very small.
I was going to say, did you grow up
touched
knowing
this.
God, knowing the
Yes.
Bible?
Yep.
Were you
Raised
taught that the
hearing
Bible was
these
true?
stories. Yes, I was.
And is this locking that in for you?
It is, for sure. Yeah, that's part of the reason I do all of this, is because I think it's really cool to see that, you know, I've heard these stories my entire life, but, you know, to a certain extent when you're small, they're only stories.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool to grow up and actually get to work with this stuff that was here at the time when these people lived.
Our chest level here, we're at the time of the New Testament, and down where you have been seen, we're down at the time of the Judges, and then down there we're at the time of Abraham. So you're physically connecting with different eras in the biblical time.
Yeah, so you can actually see the Bible chronology, you know, from the time of Christ all the way down to the time of Abraham. And that's a lot of years, but you're seeing it right here on all these levels.
And you dig through it, and so you can get down 6 feet, and so 1,000 years in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And can anybody come here and volunteer? Does it take an archaeologist that's been trained and studied, or can anyone do this?
If you come with a willing spirit and you're willing to work hard and do what you're told with a good attitude, you can make a contribution.
And I think I proved that yesterday, because I actually did something and I had a great time, and I plan to get in the dirt today a little bit. So
Sure, if you're strong, we'll have you doing these things. If you're not so strong, we'll have you doing other things. Or if you just want to stand in the shade and work with water, we can have you doing that too. If you come with a good attitude, we can put you to work.
So Karen, you're a seasoned archaeologist now.
It's really been fun.
What's it been like?
It's been awesome. It's been really fun. It's something I've always wanted to do. And you know what? This makes me appreciate whenever I go to a site in Israel now.
That's already been excavated.
I appreciate all the work that went into it now because, man, hours and hours of hard work and sweat and lifting and all kinds of things.
Oh my goodness, look at you.
They officially made me the I think they call them a burro.
Yeah,
or a mule.
yeah, burro.
Yeah, move everything around.
Just so everyone knows, Edgar's a friend of mine, close friend of mine, and he's here helping us with security, but he's also carrying big buckets of dirt.
Yeah.
Would you recommend someone coming here to volunteer as a
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. And what I enjoyed the most is finding the bones in the when I went sifting. The mule part, carrying all the boulders and the dirt, that's the second most fun thing.
You and I are together in a storeroom on the middle bronze wall, and here we've got one of the middle bronze storage jars that came out of the next storeroom next to you and me. Very, very cool. So we would date this about 1700 BC.
So this is the Canaanite period. The Amorites were one of the Canaanite tribes, and they would have occupied this area. Yeah. And this would have been something that they would have used in daily life.
They absolutely use this.
We've been here a week and a half together, and as you can see, all different ages, and all of us working hard and enjoying digging the remnants of the history of the Old Testament that we all have. Most of us have heard all our lives and have enjoyed what's the stories and the history, and now we're actually finding the physical remains of it. And that's probably why we're working so hard, is we enjoy what we're doing and what we're finding.
Tell me a little bit about this. Dry sifting.
Okay, dry sifting is a procedure where they pull the buckets out of there, and then I dump it in here, and I take care of all the excess dirt that goes down in here. Then I kind of go through it just to pull through it right there is a set of teeth.
There we go.
And
so that's from an animal.
That's from an animal.
And obviously
and
from...
we keep that.
Yeah, and it could have been part of the diet here, and by knowing, and they can tell what that came from, then they'll know what civilization that was from, likely.
Yeah, And so there's been all kinds of bones in here, and they send them off to diagnostic to find out what they actually are.
But after you go through it, and first of all, they're looking for objects as they're digging, so they're going to be the first layer. You're the second layer, though.
The second layer.
Of finding things, and you're finding some pieces of pottery and some handles and different things in this.
The other day, I found a scraper, a flint scraper that was in perfect condition, with still the serration on it.
But then you're dumping this into another bag, and that goes down to wet sifting. So then there's all these layers.
Exactly.
And even a metal detector, detecting the spoils from that layer. So there's just lots of chances to find very cool things.
Very cool stuff. Yes, I agree. Last year we found a scarab doing dry sifting. So that was pretty exciting last year. They have found scarabs down in wet sifting. So had there not been this process of these three visual systems of filtering, we wouldn't have found them.
You've obviously been on Israel tours, and you go from site to site, you get back on the bus, and you go, now your hands are getting dirty. Your hands are in the soil that's thousands of years old. You're being on one site day after day. What does that do to you?
Well, when you come here and you're actually holding pottery that was made by the Israelites or the Canaanites or Amorites, and you're holding it in your hand, and it's 3,000 or 4,000 years old, America's only 300 years old, but to hold something that's 3,000 years old, it just puts right in your heart what it was like to be here at that time. And you get to thinking about the women who were making the pottery, or the men, not sure about that, but I think the women were making the pottery, and their children are all around. And what were they making the pottery for, and what was going on around them? There's just so much to think about. What was happening at the time. The human connection. The human connection, exactly. And you're holding it in your hand. So it's really exciting for me. In 2017, I was walking down that path over there, and ABR was digging over there, and I looked over, and a man handed me a brush and told me to come down and help, and it stole my heart. And so I had the opportunity to come here, and I've been coming now for 2 years.
And you're around 39, 40 years old.
Exactly.
I'd never ask this, but I want to ask for a reason. So.
66.
Okay. So at 66, you're able to come here and do this stuff. Are you physically, I mean, are you getting pretty tired at the end of the day, or how are you holding up?
I'm doing okay. I worked construction for 25 years.
Oh,
and
my goodness. So this is a piece of cake.
I do long distance backpacking. So this isn't too bad.
I understand, though, that a volunteer could be about any age when they come to Shiloh.
Yeah, we've had some here that are 80 years old.
There's things to do under the shade and wet sifting and all of that. Or you can come up here and haul buckets and rocks.
There's something here for any skill, any level.
I was just interested. I've never done anything archaeology or anything like that, but I thought it'd be a fun experience. So
and has it been?
Yeah, it has.
Obviously, it's work. It's hard. It's dirty. You know.
Yeah, I don't mind that part of it. So it's been pretty fun.
And you have a white bag. So this is a certain square, has a certain color.
Yes, each of us have our own color designations. White team is the square above red.
But it's very important to keep it separated properly.
Yes, just to help organize the things we find. We just put whatever we ended up saving for dry sift into these bags, and then we have the tags that coordinate with the color. So they're on Locust 2 Pale 23. So that means they're day 23. And you just put this with the stuff you find.
It goes in the bag. And so then when they wet sift, they know exactly where that came from.
Yeah, anything they find in that level and location, they file it to stay organized.
Yeah, so when you find something important, knowing exactly where that came from, they can catalog it and put it on a computer system and everything. But you're also looking for things too.
Yes.
You might find a pottery or object that you're going to separate yourself.
If we find things without needing to get wet, then it's easy for us. We put it in a separate bucket and we just take it to our square supervisors and they file away the objects that are significant.
What's it feel like to be touching stuff that hasn't seen the light of day for thousands of years?
It's pretty amazing. I'm a new Christian, so this is kind of like the best way for me to be close to God. And I feel like I'm learning a lot about Him.
You've heard the guide say that talking to God here is a local call, not a long distance call. You feel closer to God in Israel?
I've ever since I became a Christian, I know that God's in me. So it's
you really can't be any closer than that.
I can't be any closer than that.
Amen.
But definitely seeing His handiwork. You don't see a lot of this ancient stuff in North America. So.
You're in the land that He says He loves. He gave to His people, His earthly people, Israel. So you have to kind of feel that connection. And again, you're touching things that, Samuel might have seen or touched.
Yeah, maybe Eli drank out of something like this.
Exactly.
You never know.
It's awesome stuff. Next to the square that I was working at yesterday, we have another square over here. And there's archaeologists from Mexico working. They are people that are expert in, and I think the top archaeologist in Mayan ruins. So you see all the different nationalities, people coming here, and so many people are interested in Shiloh. It attracts people. And I'm telling you, this is world-class archaeology going on right here from Central America, North America, Europe, Africa. Everyone's coming here to Shiloh. I'm impressed by the accents here. You have a Canadian. The people in the square next to me are Mayan ruin experts. I mean, number one in Mexico, and he's here digging in Shiloh. Yeah. Netherlands?
We have Netherlands, we have Danish, Swedish, Spanish, Uganda, Korea. So 10 or 11 different nationalities.
And you have some other groups that are, established archaeological groups from other countries coming here to help out.
Yes, for example, the Danish Biblical Archaeological Society is sending a team each year to work with us as well. We have 10 different universities that are part of our consortium. And so, for example, we're hoping next year we have people from Dayspring that are going to come dig with us.
I'm cleaning up between, it seems that there's a wall here and there's a wall coming here. So this is probably all fill, which is rocks and dirt. but we want to see the two walls, and so we can have a clean picture of them. So that's what I'm doing.
And where are you from?
I'm from Denmark.
And how did you end up here in Shiloh?
I'm part of the Danish Associations for Biblical Archaeology, and last year we thought that it was about time to get dirty hands again, so we were looking for a dig, and we found Shiloh.
You found it, and what a fantastic place this is.
Absolutely.
First of all, what's your name and where are you from?
My name is Yuni from Korea.
And you've come a long way.
Sure.
And how did you end up in Shiloh?
My first visit is 2010. And then last year I visited again, and this is my second time at Shiloh. During the time, I studied theology and archaeology, the other places, and then I come back. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And you're doing sifting right now, and you found a little object.
Yes.
And you're showing it to a colleague. And what are you thinking that is?
Yeah, first I think it seems to be a shell, but usually shell has some soil in it, but this seems to be stone in it.
Huh. So it could be possibly a stone that was carved to look like a shell.
Stone object.
Uh-huh. So this is obviously the wet sifting station. You all are here doing important work that very few other excavations are doing, if any. How long have you been wet sifting?
I've been doing it for about a week. I got here about a week ago, but my husband just got here last night.
All right.
So I'm teaching him how to wet sift.
Fantastic. Well, I just got here yesterday, so. All right, so what's the process? How do you wet sift?
So what you do is there are these bags. I've got my orange bags over here, and I'm in the orange square.
Which is good because
So-
I am too.
Okay.
Yesterday I was sifting these and bringing these to this pile.
Okay.
So this is good.
Yeah, so I went ahead and dumped that in the bucket. You add water by doing that.
Okay.
And then you dump the rocks in. And then you spread them out. And this is recycled water from this, and then this is clean water.
Okay. So you use
So
the
you
recycle
go ahead-
first to get the
Yep.
bigger
Get the mud off,
Uh-huh.
and then you do that, and then you spread it out so you can see what's going on.
Okay.
And anything, we're finding a lot of bone
Mm-hmm.
in our area. It was a storage area, probably for the tabernacle. So
Okay.
the bone is important because then you can see what kind of animals they were sacrificing. And then
you're looking
by
for-
that, you're looking for the content basically of pig bone in there. 'Cause
Right.
The lower rate of pig bone means that might have been an early Israelite.
So if you're finding more pig bones, it's looking probably like a Canaanite settlement versus an Israelite settlement. So do you
Right.
see any bone in here right now?
Okay, let's see, because that's mostly what we've been finding. It's usually kind of a light yellow. You'd also try to find if there was a rim of a pottery bowl or any sort of a base. Those are important. So let's see, here's a piece of bone. So you see it's kind of light, and you can see the ridges of, the
Okay.
inside of the bone.
Sure.
So
All right. Well, we found
kinda
bone.
small, but
So what do you do when you find something?
you put it in this bucket.
Okay.
And then the supervisor of the square gets to look through the bucket.
Okay.
And then they'll determine if it's really anything exciting or not.
I heard that you found something today. What'd you
I
find?
did. I found a bead.
Look at
You can tell it's a
that.
bead because the it's perfectly round, as
Uh-huh.
well as you can tell they drilled the hole in.
So it's
not
broke. It's not broken.
No, well the
outside is.
hole is
Okay,
not.
okay,
It's
okay.
not like a broken
Right,
piece.
right, right.
Sometimes you can find things that look broken.
Or it looks like it has a
Um,
hole, but it's just broken.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, but this one's broken.
So tell me what this would have been. Would you have any clue? Is this decorative on a necklace?
Yes, it would probably been on a necklace.
Mhm.
We also can find things like teeth, and I found one right here.
All right. Check it out. And you would probably rarely find that in a dry sift. So the wet sift is really where that's going to pop out.
Yes, the bone typically you can find it much more easily in the wet sift.
And that's going to be really helpful for them to know, what did that come from? And then that's going to give them a clue to who lived here.
Every time that you have dug in a different area,
Right.
I don't know if you saw this, but we put a little tag on here that says where you dug it from.
What are you looking for?
Okay, we found different kinds of pottery. And I don't know if everybody's looking for scarabs, but haven't found one of those yet.
But it can happen.
Yeah,
right?
or coins.
Find a scarab. And the scarab would be important because it can really help date that time period.
Yes, because it has writing on it.
Right.
So
And the scarab it's like a little stone that's beetle shaped.
Yep, it's very
And
small.
on the back side is hieroglyph.
And and it'll tell somebody's name.
And I'll hear you hooping and hollering if you find it.
Oh, I
right?
probably would
So
be,
we'll go back and talk to you.
This was found just today. It was found in wet sifting. This is a bone pendant.
Wow. So what would this have been used for?
I'm guessing some kind of jewelry hung around the neck or something like that.
What level was this found in?
Well, we have a mixed level actually, so it's hard to date it. We know where it came from in my square, but that square is mixed.
Do you think some of these experts here could date this just by looking at it?
There might be a certain typology that comes with bone pendants, but that's beyond my area of study.
Yeah. But it's still fascinating, and this is, it's old. We don't know how old.
Right.
It's at least a couple thousand years old, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And someone took the time to take a piece of bone and carve a piece of jewelry out of it. Yeah. And that's pretty cool.
And it's still beautiful after all these years just being buried. And what else is sitting here at Shiloh under our feet right now?
Who knows, right? We'll see.
And that's the whole point. And that's
right.
why you're here.
Yeah, that's part of what we do.
You're a professor. Does this field work help your teaching?
I think it does. Usually this helps me in two ways. One, it lets me get a firsthand knowledge and understanding of the archaeological material. And secondly, it helps me to read the reports on archaeology from other sites and incorporate them into my teaching. So I usually teach Old Testament, so it really helps in that way.
ABR is an organization that uses the Bible as a historical document that's reliable. Does that help doing what you do? Does it give you an advantage in archaeology?
Well, I personally think it does. It's if anything else, even apart from being the Word of God, that's what it is to me. But it is an ancient document, and I think we should treat it as a historical source like we treat other ancient documents. So I think it's an invaluable help in what we do here.
As a Christian, does being here at Shiloh affect you?
Oh, yeah, sure it does. I mean, you're here where God did work and stuff. So it's, I like being back in the Houston area, but Shiloh's better.
Well, God's presence dwelt, right, above the tabernacle, which was here for over 300 years. And it almost feels like you get a sense of that by standing here in this location, the presence of God. Now, God is in us. The Spirit of God is in us. So we're really close to God anywhere we go.
Right.
But there's just something about Israel and especially something about Shiloh to connect you to God.
I agree.
The reason I have to interview you is because you're the only one with a metal detector.
Yes.
And it looks like you know what you're doing.
I
so
do.
What's going on?
Well, we want to make sure that none of the little tiny coins escape. The coins in the past, they told us that they didn't think there were any coins over here. There have been very few published from Shiloh. But we were so successful at the last excavation at Kerbin El Makader, we found over 1,300 coins there. And
By this method?
By this method with metal detector. They had searched and sifted, but they tended to miss the little coins like this one.
Okay, so when did you find this one?
I found this one just now, and they actually
Just now. And where was it?
It escaped the wet sift.
It did.
So it escaped being found in the square. It escaped the dry sift. It escaped being wet sifted, and it got thrown out there, and the metal detector found it.
Found it, wow.
I try to get around to all the squares regularly and catch them when they're still in the squares, but I just can't be everywhere at once.
How many have you found this year? Would you have a clue?
This year, as of yesterday, 127.
Really?
In the 3 weeks and 1 day.
Really, how the Bible can come alive, it's what I'd like to call the fifth gospel.
And you also have other archaeologists that are really paying attention to what you're doing.
Right.
As a matter of fact, coming up soon in a couple days, BBC is coming, and you have other networks coming all the time to find out more about Shiloh.
Well, Shiloh is an important site, and we're doing a good work here, but the site itself is very important, so there is interest in it. We have Israeli colleagues that work with us, 4 different Israeli universities that in some way or another are cooperating with what we're doing. So it's really very multinational and multidisciplinary.
And when they come and they see things like, in the field infrared and, your wet sifting, they have to comment. Other archaeologists in Israel have to be taking notice of you.
Usually it's a 3-letter word, wow, of what's going on. But, I learn something new every day, Jim, from my colleagues. That's what's so exciting about this field is we're learning every day and growing. And then what we're doing that's really awesome, we're then able to share with others.
What's Israel's opinion of Shiloh, of you, of what you guys are doing here, the Antiquities Department? I know you're doing it under their auspices.
Yes. We're very fortunate to have a long-term relationship with the Antiquities Authority. And so they're very pleased with what we're doing. We're representing them well. We're doing it with excellence. And so it's a win-win-win. The local community wins because this is great for tourism. The Antiquities Authority wins. And then, of course, for my organization, it's a dream come true.
And the local community, there's a settlement here in Shiloh,
Yes.
and they're supporting you guys, right? Water and food and different things.
They help us out in so many ways. You saw a big banner back here welcoming us for this coming season. It means a lot to have that kind of support.
And it's helping their community financially too, because you're bringing in resources and they're supplying your needs. And there's not many archaeological digs that you have such nice, water, for instance.
We worked for many, many years at sites with no water, no restrooms. I mean, it was very primitive. So for us, we feel like we've come out of the desert into the promised land.
And that's why you want to stay here at least another 3 years.
That's right.
I love the sign, Jeremiah 7:12.
When it all started, Jim, as an archaeologist doing scientific work, I'm also a believer. And I had to process through my own faith commitments, is this what I felt like God wanted us to do? And the verse that God led me to that really solidified everything was Jeremiah 7:12. Go now to Shiloh. See what I did there. And that's become our key verse. And so that's why that's on the sign. And I'll always remind myself that that's what we've done. We've come now to Shiloh to see what God did here.
Amen. Amen. Well, now I hope you understand a little bit more why I said I dig the Bible. I really do. But why is it important? Things that you dig out of the ground, this has been buried for thousands of years. This is just dusty and dirty. What does this matter? I had a girl tell me, she said, Pastor, I like your preaching and stuff, but the archaeology stuff's a little boring. Well, she doesn't get it. She doesn't understand how exciting stuff like this is. Do I need archaeology to say the Bible is true? No, I don't, because I believe Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, because he rose again. There's historic proof of that. And if he rose again, it means he's God. That means his claims of salvation are true. What are those claims of salvation? Let me tell you about that in just a second. But this helps shed a little bit more light on the Bible. It helps us to understand a little bit more detail of the way they lived. And it also helps to say the Bible is accurate. It is historical. It is true. So all of these things kind of lock in my faith and hopefully, as you've seen the show today from Shiloh, your faith. But why does it matter? What is important? Well, there's a wonderful truth. There is a Christ, the Son of God. His name is Jesus. The word Christ means promised one, predicted one. He was predicted. He came. He lived here in this land. We don't know if he ever came to Shiloh, but certainly he passed near Shiloh. This is in Samaria. As Jesus would have gone from Jerusalem to the Galilee, he had one time at least come through Samaria. And so we know he was in these regions. We know his ancestors were here. We know that Joshua and others, Samuel, Eli, were here at this place here in Shiloh. It's important because the promised one, the one that came from Israel, the one that came to fulfill what the tabernacle was typifying and what the temple and the sacrifices typified, he fulfilled all of that. An animal sacrifice was never intended to take away sin. An animal sacrifice could only cover sin. It was called a kapora. But the sacrifice of Jesus, the perfect man, Because he was God, he never sinned. He lived among us, but yet he died on a cross. He rose again the third day. That's what the Bible is all about. It's about Jesus. From Genesis to Revelation, it's all about Jesus. Do you know him? Have you ever trusted in the Lord Jesus Christ? These are his words. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. I love that verse because it tells me that God loves me, that Jesus, the Son of God, died for me on a cross and rose again. And by trusting in him, I also can have eternal life. For some reason, you're not satisfied with digging all day, but now you've got to have a pastime called slinging.
Slinging. So slinging has been a part of people in history for thousands of years, for warfare, for hunting, herding, and sport. And so we're doing the sport side.
And obviously biblical.
Obviously.
Yeah.
David and Goliath.
David and Goliath.
Yesterday we were at the valley where David slung very carefully and took out the giant.
And people in the U.S. probably think this is the slingshot, and that's what I had as a kid.
A slingshot where you're
Right.
stretching something.
Yeah, so this is a sling.
But David used a sling which is static, and so you're using centrifugal force to add power so that you can go harder and farther than you can throw a rock.
And you hold it, and then you let go of one, as it opens up, and then the rock flies. Now, also, these are made by the locals.
These are made by local Bedouin or nomads, and you want to make a sling from the plant or animal material that you have available. David probably used wool since he was a shepherd. These nomads have camels, so these are woven from camel's hair, and I think they throw in a little yarn to make it look pretty. So on the one end, you have a loop, and I tied a slip knot with a loop in those. I like to loop it around my middle finger, and then the other end has a knot, so it's equidistance. So you hold the knot, and that's what you will release. So I hold it between my thumb and forefinger.
This is not going to end well. I'm already sensing like I have no idea what we're doing.
Okay, so it's like this.
So I think
you'll swing
I've got it.
And then you'll let go like that. All right, so you'll sling it. The one will stay in your middle finger, and then you'll let go that way.
So it's like a trigger right there. Bonk.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You can sling over your head like a helicopter. I like to go at my side.
Okay.
You bend at the elbow and the wrist.
Okay.
And if I'm slinging on this plane, it's going to go this way. It's not going to go at you or the camera or whatever. It's going.
We'll go that way.
Probably go that way.
Probably, he said.
Probably.
You always listen for those words.
Yeah. So
most likely.
I load it like this, and then I do 3 to 4 revolutions. You don't have to do 50. The last one is the only one that gives you your speed. So I do about 3, and then release it so that it should shoot toward that tree.
Okay.
So.
Wow, he hit it.
Scared the tree.
You scared the tree. Well, I was thinking the rock would be a great target too.
Whatever.
How about anything over there?
Anything in that direction.
We're going over, right?
You can do it underhand or overhand. I find it more natural to go underhand.
Underhand.
Either way works. Perfect.
Okay. Oh, that's going to be expensive. Well, at least I hit something.